the microphone on top. The right there. Make sure it's red.
It's red.
Okay. Yeah, but just sure.
All right. Before we call the meeting to order, if anyone has any questions during the meeting, we ask that you submit them using one of the methods shown on the screen.
Oh,
Sean?
sorry. Sorry.
Or hold your question to the designated question period if you're in the audience. The questions will be reviewed then. All right. I hereby call the 121st annual meeting of the Cochrane Cooperative Telephone Company to order. Notice is hereby given that the annual meeting of the Cochrane Cooperative Telephone Company will be held at 6:30 p.m. on Wednesday, April 29th, 2026 at the Cochrane-Fountain City School Auditorium located at S2770 State Highway 35, Fountain City, Wisconsin. In addition, this meeting will be streamed live on YouTube. The agenda will consist of financial reports for 2025, manager's report, scholarship drawing, and director election results. Sean, we have a quorum?
I believe we do. Let me just. Yes, we do.
All right. Let the meetings reflect that a quorum is present. Terry. Next, we'll have the reading of the 120th annual meeting minutes by current CCT Secretary Terry Lorenz.
Good evening, everybody. The 120th annual meeting of the Cochrane Cooperative Telephone was held on April 23rd, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. at the CFC School Auditorium, Fountain City, Wisconsin. President of the board, Heidi Lasowski, opened the meeting by reading the notice of meeting of the 120th annual meeting of the Cochrane Co-op Telephone. Terry Lorenz read the minutes of the 119th annual meeting. Motion was made and seconded to accept the minutes as read. Motion carried. Heidi introduced the board, including herself, Vice President Carson Lentz, Secretary Terry Lorenz, Director Bruce Burmeister, and Don Balone. She then introduced CCT's CEO, Sean Squires. Sean introduced his staff who were in attendance: Matt Biesterveld, Jason Markward, Lisa Bramer, Amanda Patzner, and introduced new employee Tyler Meyer. Sean recognized Jewel Rohr, who retired from the board this year after 30 years of dedicated service to the cooperative. Sean reported on CCT's consolidated balance sheet and the consolidated operating statement. He presented slides of side-by-side comparisons of other companies and cooperatives regarding operating income and payroll expenses. Reports were created by CCT's audit firm Forbes. The comparison showed CCT is competitive with the operating income and pay expenses being under national average. Sean went through the service counts for 2015 to 2024, including areas in Cochrane, Buffalo City, Alma, Milton, Cross, Montana, Fountain City, and Wamandee. Sean presented 2024 to 2025 year in review, which included grant awards, cloud-based switching, speed adjustments from 50 to 100 at no cost to the members, FFC Universal Service Fund, 2025 cyber event, and 2025 outages. The plans for 2025 and 26 includes network upgrades, facility upgrades, fiber projects, submissions of 3 applications for the BEAD program, and the possibility of MWT.net and CCT Co-op emails going away in September of 2026. Sean had some closing thoughts on being vigilant to scams regarding your emails. The 2025 CCT scholarships were awarded. Finley Knoll and Alicia Arneson won the $1,000 four-year scholarships, and Corbin Weber and Aubrey Smith won the $500 two-year scholarships. The Board of Director election results: Bruce Burmeister ran unopposed with a vote count of 272 votes and was elected to a 5-year term. Ballot questions in support of holding annual meetings virtually, count was 129 yes to 143 no. Board will take the votes into consideration. Winners for the drawing of the $50 bill credit were virtual was Patricia Baker, and in person was Steve Speltz. Sean asked if anyone had questions. No questions were brought forward. Heidi then asked for a motion and a second to adjourn. Motion carried. Respectfully submitted, Terry Lorenz.
All right, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes as read. So moved. Second? All right, I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as read. For those appearing virtually, click the link in the comments to vote. You will need your casting vote to verify identity and votes. So you'll need your code. All these in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? We will wait a few minutes for the virtual votes to come in. The live voting is on the screen along with the time remaining to vote.
It will be on their screen. It'll be on the other screen, on the.
For patience level, they have 2 minutes.
Yep. And there is a delay of anywhere from 10 to 15 seconds, so. Yeah, especially when there's.
I would juggle, but I don't have any talent.
For sure.
That was a long minute. Nobody's voting?
Nobody's voting, but there are 19 people on, so.
I know.
What's the vote?
10 seconds.
Okay, nobody wants to.
All right. Go time.
Okay.
All right, the minutes of the 120th annual meeting are approved. At this time, I'd like to introduce the Cochrane Cooperative Telephone Board of Directors. I'm Heidi Lasowski, the president. Don Balone is the vice president. Terry Lorenz is our secretary treasurer. Carson Lentz is a director, and Bruce Burmeister is a director. Now, for the main event, Sean Squires, our CEO.
Yeah.
Yeah, woo! Try to liven it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Try to, at least.
Okay. Make sure that's ready to go. All right, so welcome to all the new members of the cooperative. I know I'm sure there's some of you in the audience tonight, especially to those of you from our new grant areas that we just built out to, who subscribed since our last annual meeting. And then just another reminder about questions, if anybody has any questions. We'll take those from the audience here as well as the virtual individuals. For those of you in the audience, we'll have that question and answer section. We'll just raise your hand at that point. But if you want, you can also submit them to the number that's going to be on every single slide up there if you don't feel comfortable asking your question in front of everyone. And that goes for those of you who are also virtual as well. Feel free to text in your questions. And then also, if you have subscribed to the chat feature, you can also submit your questions via the chat. At this time, I will introduce the employees that are present. We do have a few that are absent this evening. So first off, we'll start with Matt Wiesterfeld, why are you in the back? Okay, so Matt is in the back. He is our plant manager. Corey Hansen, who I know is not here, he's unable to be here this evening. He is the central office technician. We have Jason Marquardt, who is here. He is a combination technician. Tyler Meyer, another combination technician. Lisa Bramer is our office manager in the back. And Amanda Potzner is our customer service rep in the back as well. And both of those two you probably met when you came in this evening. So to get started, we'll start with the financial report for the co-op. And we'll start with the balance sheet first. And I have a couple areas highlighted. It's in your materials, it's on the inside. It'll be on the left-hand side is where we'll start. We'll start with the current assets section of the balance sheet on the accounts receivable other. You'll see a reduction of over $970,000 on that particular line. Last year we had receivables due to us from the state grant funds as well as some municipality funds that were due. We have now received all of those funds. However, there's still yet just a slight little amount that remains, and that's what's shown on that line that's still owed to us from the state. They, as part of the whole BEAD process, and that's a big, huge nationwide grant that we attempted to participate in. We were unsuccessful in it, but that kind of put them behind the 8 ball as to finishing up on the grant processes. So that's why they haven't closed out one of our grants yet. So that's why we're still waiting for the 22 some odd thousand that's showing there. The next line that I want to call your attention to is actually a new line that's on our balance sheet. That's in the non-current assets section. It's the right of use assets. The right of use asset reflects the ability to use important equipment that we actually lease. This is in accounting rules require us to show both the value of using it and then the obligation to pay for it all on the balance sheet. It doesn't change our cash flow, profitability, or how the cooperative operates. It's kind of a transparency requirement that we have to show. So we did take on a lease in 2025, so that's why we now have to show that. And in 2026, you'll see that number probably grow because we'll have an additional lease that we will be probably taking on. The last item on this particular section here is the property and equipment the plant under construction. In 2024, everything that we had incurred as part of the grant project that was not yet in service was recorded underneath that account that's shown there. Everything that we had, plus everything that it took to finish those grants, was all rolled up and then moved now to the plant in service, which is a few lines above. So that's why you're not seeing anything in that plant under construction this year. The current liabilities for accounts payable, I want to call your attention to that particular line. There's an increase there, and that's mostly due to the credit balances that most customers had on their accounts as a direct relation to the capital credit balances the capital credit retirement that we did at the end of 2025. We could do capital credit retirements earlier in the year. However, we like to do those later in the year just because we usually do those around the holidays. It's a nice little give back at times where families might be needing it at the most. So, and then usually those carry through the holiday season and then sometimes into the next year. So that's why those balances are credit balances, which reflect a payable that's due back to the membership. The next line I'd call your attention to is the outstanding checks in excess of bank balance. At the end of 2024, I had mentioned this last year too, but I'll call your attention to it again. At the end of 2024, a large grant construction check was issued on 12/31 because we were expecting a grant payment transfer from the state that was supposed to be coming to us on 12/31. However, it did not arrive actually until January 6th of 2025, thus giving the appearance that we actually overdrawn. However, that actually did not happen because we had plenty of funds in the bank at that particular moment because the check was not actually physically cashed, but it was actually issued. So that was all cleared up in 2025, so that's why you do not see anything on that particular line item. And the final item on the balance sheet that I'll call your attention to is the lease liability line, and that is that offsetting entry to go with the right of use asset that I had just previously mentioned. The next item I'll talk about is the operating statement. There's a few lines there that I want to call your attention to. The first is in the operating revenues section, which is the local communication services. Most all of the member services billing revenue is located in this particular line. There's a 10.7% increase here, which represents the new grant customers that were brought on in 2025, as well as just pure organic growth that we've seen. And that's outside of any of the new grant areas that we built out on. So that would be in the Cochrane, Buffalo City, Wamedy, Belvedere, Elma, Cross, Milton, all those areas that we've seen some growth in. The next line, these are going to be in the operating expense areas, is the depreciation. And with all of our new assets that we put in play, we now are going to be depreciating quite a bit more. So that's why you're seeing a higher depreciation amount on the operating statement. And then the final item I have, just to kind of make mention of, is the general taxes. You'll see that this decreased substantially, and this is due to some recent Wisconsin legislative changes that are not only us as a company advocated for, but our state association helped advocate for as well. And basically it makes a lot of our infrastructure no longer taxable underneath a utility tax to us. And 2025 was the very first year that this legislation was put into place, and you can see the impact that this had on us. So, it was quite a bit. And then at the end, bottom line, I don't have it highlighted above, but we ended the year with a net margin of about $681,500, which is actually a 4.4% decrease. And again, that's probably most attributed to the grant build-outs that we did. I expect this to hopefully rebound I would say hopefully in neutral, or if not, hopefully through our growth, we'll gain some in 2026. On the next slide, I usually try to put at least one slide from our audit presentation by our auditor in. This particular slide is not in your materials at all, but it's up on the screen, and then for those of you that are in virtual, I'll just make mention of what it all is addressing here. So in the first column, it represents all the companies that our audit company audits. The second column is all of the cooperatives that they audit. The third is all similarly sized companies. And then in 2024 and 2025 make up the last two columns, and that is our numbers. And what it's showing here is our reliance on the federal USF funds to operate our entire organization. And the more that a company relies on those federal USF funds, it's basically the best way to put it is you are, the more changes and reliance on those funds, the more detrimental that a change can make to your overall financial health, the way that you operate, your pricing is another big thing. So as you can see by the slide that I have here, we far outpace our peers and are actually in a great position. And this is going to be key moving forward because USF reforms are actually a very hot topic at the FCC right now and are most likely going to be taking place in the next 3 to 5 years. And had we not been in this position, and we continue to hopefully be in even a much better position, we won't have to make significant changes, which would include significant pricing increases and things along those lines, should the FCC force down these types of changes to these programs. So that kind of wraps up the financial presentation part. So at this time, we'll move into our scholarships. And scholarship question that we had this year was, as artificial intelligence becomes more common in education, communication, and work, young people must decide how to use it responsibly. From your perspective as a rural student, discuss the opportunities and the concerns that AI creates for young people in our community. And what we do for our essay requirements is that we require a minimum of a 500-word essay. They must be present here at the annual meeting. And then we do our scholarship awards by random draw. And then usually what we do is we have a little spinning wheel that we put up there, and that's how we do our random drawing. I will note that since we do require that our scholarship winners be present, there is also another school event that's going on tonight. So there was 3 individuals that have asked for an exemption from this requirement, which I have granted so that they could be present at the school function. So should they win, they have been granted that exception. So I just want to be perfectly clear with everyone here that they did get that well in advance of even submitting their applications. So we did have 7 applications for the 2-year and trade school scholarships and 12 applicants for the 4-year school. So I believe this is one of the strongest years since I've been CEO here that I can remember. Even going back to while I was on the board. This is a really good year, so I'm very pleased to see that the number of participants here. And then this year, the board decided to increase the scholarship amounts. We're doing $750 for the 2-year winners and $1,500 for the 4-year winners. So at this time, we will do our drawings for the, what are we doing, the 2 or the 4 first? 4-year. Okay. All right. And it's spinning. And again, we're doing 2 of them, so. Samantha, are you present? Come on up. Oh, I forgot to tell you, you're gonna have to give a speech. No. Basically, just if you want to tell the membership of where you're planning to go to school, what you're, maybe considering majoring in, tell a little bit about yourself, and then congratulations.
Thank you. My name is Samantha Eltoff. I'm going to Winona State University next year, and I'm majoring in English with a specialization as technical writing and applied writing.
Perfect.
Am I good?
Yeah. All right. And the next one. Looks like it'll be Tori. Yep. Tori. I think Lisa? She was the exemption, right? That's what I thought. Okay. Yep. Tori was one of them that had asked to be present at one of those school functions. I think they're all going to the same, all the 3 that asked for the exemption are going to the same event this evening. So we'll notify her of winning that. And Tori is from Elma. So now we'll do the 2-year drawing. Nice. I don't think I've seen it ever be that close. Okay, Haley is not present. Okay, she did not request a waiver, so we will redraw. And I will remove her from the list since she is not present. Yeah. Jeez. April? All right. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Feel free to say a few words if you would like.
My name is April Luna. I'm going to go to Western Technical College for sales management, and then after that, I'm going to become an insurance agent.
Perfect. All right, and our second one. And Madison. Okay. I figured when there was some hoot and a holler and that you had to be present, so. Congratulations.
Thank you. My name is Madison Ward. I'm going to Chippewa Valley Technical College, and I'm majoring in accounting.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. All right. Next up is the Board of Director election. The Board of Director election we do every single year. We did an advertisement on our February bill message, as well as 3 Facebook messages at 3 separate times. This winter / early spring or late winter, whatever you want to call it. An open forum was also held on March 4th, which unfortunately nobody attended. The nomination committee met on March 23rd to review all applications. There was 1 applicant, and they were selected to appear on the ballot with the incumbent candidate. Ballots were mailed out to all members on April 10th. The nomination committee counted the votes this evening. And then now I would ask a member of the nomination committee to come up with the results of the election. I'll meet you halfway. All right. Okay. We, the 2026 nominating committee, do hereby certify that the ballots have been reviewed and counted and have agreed to the number of ballots cast for each of the persons listed below. With 152 votes, Ben Holeen, and then with 213 votes, Carson Lentz. And it is signed by all three of the nomination committee members, and it is signed April 29th, 2026. So congratulations, Carson. Carson will be elected to 5-year term, and thank you, Ben, for running. We encourage everyone to be part of this process. It's a valuable process. I consider it to be one of the most important parts of the cooperative. You know, people think that running against an incumbent candidate, or if they think that the cooperative is doing fine, we don't need to run. I still feel it's an important part of the overall process, just to still have candidates run, just to have a solid election here. So again, thank you, Ben, for running. I'm sure you would have been a great candidate as well. So at this time, let's see here, out of the way. At this time, we'll do the attendance drawings. So, we will do a $50 bill credit drawing for those individuals who are present on the virtual side, as well as a $50 bill credit for those who are in person. Okay, had to make sure we were still good. So, we'll start with the virtual attendees, and we'll do the same thing with the wheel. So those who are okay, virtual people. Okay, Sally. She is our virtual winner. Close that. And then the in-person. Yes, we do have a few people here tonight. All right, so $50. I can't see it from here, so I'm going to wait for it to come up in big. Adam. So congratulations to both. You'll get your $50 bill credit that will be placed on your account. You don't have to do anything special. So then, a few closing thoughts. First and foremost, many of you were probably impacted by the events that occurred this morning. For those who don't know, we did have a pretty significant outage this morning. We do strive very, very hard. You know, you could tell by, you know, the amount of length of service that our staff have. We are very, very committed to making sure that our network is up, you know, 99.9% of the time, and even 5 nines is what I would like to say. Unfortunately, we had a little hiccup in our network this morning with the equipment failure, and took us a little bit to get back up and going, but we had it back up going. Unfortunately, you know, and for those of you who work from home, or if you run a small business, you were impacted. So I do want to say sincerely, we do apologize for that. We worked extremely hard. You know, I mean, I came in this morning, and the first thing I did, as soon as I got there, I started answering phones. I know Jason was there answering phones before I got there. And then I was Amanda, Lisa, and myself. We were all three answering phones this morning. Just again, helping everyone to tell them what was all going on. Because some people were saying, oh, okay, it's just, I thought it was my stuff. If it's just that, just let me know when it's back up. But I do want to sincerely apologize for that network event this morning. And speaking of upgrades, we will be doing significant upgrades, throughout the cooperative in the next few years. And it starts actually in the next few weeks. We're going to be completing actually a ring, tying two pieces of what I would call like dead end pieces of fiber together. And that will actually make a ring in our network to help with some redundancy, continuity in the event that a fiber cut were to happen. And then also in addition this year, we plan to upgrade some of the little green boxes or pedestals they're called, and make sure that they are more robust and not subjected to potential rodents and the little Asian beetles, ants, bees, basically any kind of insect or rodent that you can think of. So we'll be working on those as well. And that was a two-tiered process, and this will be the second tier of that process. So, and then following that, next year, we will begin to upgrade some of our internal equipment, and then following that, immediately we will begin replacing some of the equipment in the homes of Cochrane, Buffalo City, Wamedy, and Belvedere. And then the following year, so that would be 28, we would be moving to Elmer or Milton, haven't decided which one first, and then 29, we'd probably move to whichever one is not covered in 28, so it'd be Elmer or Milton then as well. Then this is where I'd like to have some participation from you guys. Although we do believe in supporting our local businesses with the community dollars that were handed out tonight, how many people here would much rather see the $25 go actually as a bill credit instead of receiving the community dollars? Okay, so you'd much rather receive the community dollars instead of receiving it as a bill credit. The reason why I ask is that first of all, we are the only co-op that does not do a bill credit. We're the only one that does an actual give back to as like a, something to go spend at local businesses. And I still wanted to make sure that that was worthwhile to you guys, which I believe wholeheartedly it is, but I still wanted to make sure that that was something that you guys saw value in. So we will make sure that we continue to do that. And the last thing I have to bring up is to make sure that you stay tuned for an update to our website. We're doing a pretty good revamp on it. It should be done hopefully by June. We're hoping, so that will be released then. And if you have not liked our Facebook page, please do so. And then at this time, I guess I would open it up to any questions that there may be. I know I have one right here, so I guess I'll take any questions that you guys have from the audience. Otherwise, I'll go to this one. Okay. Let's see here. So the question was, why is Facebook considered a standard form of notification? I know plenty of people that do not use or participate on Facebook for a variety of reasons. Seems that not only CCT but other organizations like schools have decided that this is a good form of communication. For some, it might be, but for others, it is decidedly not. That is a tough. I actually thank you for that comment, because collectively as a board, we were not sure if historically we'd never had a Facebook page until just this year. And what we ultimately decided on collectively between myself and the board is that the reason why we are kind of shifting more towards the Facebook side of things is to engage the more youthful membership, try and get them more involved with how the cooperative operates, and bring them into being a part of us, and getting them engaged, which then gets them more involved as far as being on the board, participation. I know it's not the best because not everybody uses it. That's something that we'll have to consider though as we move forward. But no, that is a very valid point and something we'll take under consideration, that we have to consider all types of media. There is newspaper still, bill inserts, things along those lines. So very valid point. I think there might have been something else that did come in. I did get somebody respond that that they agree with the community dollars also. So, okay. Okay, there was also a couple people that do prefer the bill credit. Okay. Any other questions from the audience? Yes, ma'am.
I was wondering what it would take to get the fiber optic out in the new area off of I that was that development that the city sold to a developer.
Okay.
It goes out.
Yeah, I want to be careful how I answer this. I'll leave it this way. We explored it. We had conversations with the city and the developer, and ultimately everything kind of fell through. And I'll leave it at that. That's probably the best way to answer that. But it was tried.
If people would buy out there, then they would have to pay for the entire line out to their house from I?
Yes and no. I know it's a really tough answer. With the proposal that was laid out, the answer was going to be no. However, it was not accepted. The proposal that was laid out in front of everyone. Yeah. I don't want to get into the details, but there was a proposal on the table, and it was one that would have benefited the residents when they built. It would have not costed them anything to hook up. That was going to be the proposal. So, I'm sorry. All right. I thought I had another question come in. Okay, there was just asking if the questions could be repeated, which I was doing. This last question, I'm sorry. The last question, sorry, that's what they were asking. So the last question, just for those who were on the virtual side, they were asking about the, basically it's the Shawnee Estates subdivision in Elma. They were asking in a nutshell what it would take for us to build fiber out to there, and I think everyone online probably heard my response to that is that there was a proposal that was laid out there. Unfortunately, it did not come full circle, but we did make an attempt at that location. Is there any other questions? Yes?
I've wondered about, I know some of the farms are way off of the road, maybe a mile or so. I mean, they're driveways, or what I would call driveways. lengthy, and that's by choice, I'm sure. But if they hook up to, do they pay the total amount on that long driveway as opposed to somebody who's maybe 35 feet from,
So,
does it go by foot or
Yeah.
yards or what?
yep, so I'll repeat the question for those online. So this individual was asking if, for those that have lengthier driveways versus those that have shorter driveways, how does that work? So what we do is we do have a rather comprehensive quoting process, and what we do is we quote actual. So if it's a 1,000-foot driveway, you would then pay for 1,000 feet worth of fiber, and versus if it was a 100-foot driveway, then you pay for 100 feet. You are paying for actual, and then we do give a discount, for a new customer, because obviously we would like to have new customers subscribe. It basically is enough to help offset some of the costs. But in the big picture is that the co-op is recouping the vast majority of the cost it takes to build to those locations. Now, if you're referring to anything that was built into one of the recent grant areas, those were all covered by the grant funds. For example, like in the town of Buffalo that we just completed, there's a fair number of longer driveways, especially some farms with some longer driveways. Those are all covered with the grant funds. So anybody that chose to not take our connection during that process now would have to then pay for that, because it was only open during that time while the grant was available, because we can't honor that after the grant has been closed out. So, but yes, the co-op does not, pay for 100% of hey, I want it over here. They would have to pay for that. Does that answer your question?
I think so, yes.
Okay.
I was just wondering if a grant requires that you service a certain amount entirely.
No, so she was asking if the grant requires if you service a specific amount. No, we specify in our grant applications, when we submit them, we are going to serve, we literally go to address by address and we say, we're gonna serve this, those specific locations. And then you are obligated, when you accept those grant funds, you have to do those locations. You cannot say, you know what, I was gonna do this one, but now I'm not. You have to do those when you accept those funds. So, there has been times where we say, we're gonna go around like that because of, whatever reason. But most of the time, historically, we've been doing entire townships. That's how we've always done it. It's just fair that way. But the grant programs are pretty much done and over with now because of the whole BEAD program. So I doubt that there will be any grants for probably the next 5 years in Wisconsin. And any other questions? All right, at this time, I'll turn it back over to Heidi, and she will wrap things up.
Being that there's no further business, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. In a second? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? I hereby adjourn the 121st annual meeting of the Cochrane Cooperative Telephone Company. Have a great evening, everyone.